Sometimes when I get really lazy, I ask myself, what if my synth could play itself? So I chucked this sentence into Serum 2's granulator and added an envelope follower controlling the level and wavetable position of an oscillator. What if my synth could play itself? Theoretically, if you can have this envelope control a bunch of different parameters in enough different ways for the final output level to be affected in a complex enough fashion, you should be able to create a constantly evolving patch that never really sounds the same twice. So I added a few more instances of Serum using different wavetables, modulated their levels, pitches, and wavetable positions, as well as the scan rate of the granulator with different amounts of the envelope, and switched between them by automating the chain selector with a random LFO, the rate, depth, and offset of which is also being controlled by an envelope follower, i.e. the output level of the final sound. So now we have a Serum patch that modifies itself, but it still doesn't actually play itself. We still have to constantly give it MIDI data for it to do its thing, but I think I may have something for this. In this video, I was trying out a Max for Live device I modified in an attempt to extract pitch information from my friend's guitar playing in real time and send it to my modular rack as MIDI data. Now, my understanding of Max for Live is surface level at best, so my makeshift audio to MIDI converter here wasn't exactly as accurate as it probably could be, plus it had quite a bit of latency. It did sort of work for ambient music where transients aren't that important. Let me know if you'd like me to revisit this idea in a future video. Anyway, in this case, the fact that I had no idea what I was doing back there may actually come in handy. The latency and inaccuracy of this device tends to cause the resulting MIDI data to be staggered out and slightly offset, potentially allowing us to send MIDI data generated by our synth patch directly back into it without it getting stuck on a single note. Now, this could of course also be achieved by using existing real-time audio to MIDI software such as Doubler and Ableton's native MIDI effects, but the unpredictability and sheer jank of this solution is just too endearing for me to pass up. Anyway, after setting up the signal chain and constraining some parameters, let me send some audio to my makeshift converter to get the loop going. I did have to use a note length tool so the generated MIDI note would latch for the loop to keep going. But yeah, here's a synth patch that quite literally plays itself. Now, you could, of course, use some MIDI effects to make this a bit more musically viable, such as scale quantization and pitch transposition. I also created an alternative chain with variable note length. This way the patch ended up generating these chord stabs, but the range of useful note lengths is definitely limited. I'd say the sweet spot is around 1 to 2 seconds, and going too short or too long risks the loop dying out. I also added another envelope follower and random LFO to modulate the audio to MIDI converter sensitivity, just for a bit more unpredictability and to try to decrease the chance of the feedback loop dying because it becomes more sensitive when the audio goes quieter. This doesn't help against getting stuck on one note though, which can happen, although it's surprisingly consistently able to get itself back going again in those cases. Now, you could add some more post-processing on this, like pitch map or retune, to make it a bit more musically pleasant, and you could start adding more layers into the instrument rack. So by itself, this is already kind of a free infinite chord and texture generator. So let me know if you want access to the project file, but I encourage you to just go and try stuff out yourself. It's super fun, and anyway, bye!